Good evening. I'm calling to order the Columbia County Board of Commissioners August 5th, 2025 meeting to order. Asking Commissioner Allen to open us with invocation, please.
Thank you, sir. Dearly beloved, please let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening asking for your guidance on the work we are about to do for the people of Columbia County. We thank you for the bountiful gifts that you've bestowed on us to live in this great land, this great county, this great nation. We ask that you watch over those that will watch over us, whether they be firemen waiting for the call in the house or whether they be policemen on the beat or emergency responders driving back and forth with people that are in urgent need of care. We thank you for their service. We thank you again for all the gifts you've bestowed upon us. We ask for all of this in your name.
Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You, Prince.
Let the record show we have a full quorum of commissioners. Commissioners, you have the minute July 15th, 2025 meeting in your packet. If you had a chance to review them, I'll accept a motion to approve them.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Changes to the agenda, Mr. Johnson?
Ready for your approval, Mr. Chairman.
Like a plan. Special recognition. I do want to recognize former Commissioner Don Skinner is here. Don, welcome. Good to see you. Commissioners, you have the consent agenda in front of you. Each item on this agenda has been through the necessary committee and received the necessary votes to be placed on the consent agenda. If they still meet with your approval, I'll accept all.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept all the items on the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Carries. On to the debate agenda, and I believe Vice Chairman Couch,
Yes.
first few.
I make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 25-05, amending Chapter 78, Taxes, Article 5, Occupational Tax and Licenses, Section 149, when tax due and payable.
Second.
This amends our ordinance to state that when a new occupational tax application is submitted, they must also make payment at that time. Currently, code allows them 30 days to make payment. Staff spends a lot of time trying to track down that payment, so this will allow them to make payment when they submit their application.
Any questions? The motion is second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. Carries.
I make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 25-06, amending Chapter 34, Environment, Article 1, Grading, Section 34-1, Major Site Grading.
Second.
So this is an update to Chapter 34, which is a result of a change we made to Chapter 90 a few months ago. It includes reducing a buffer down to 25 feet from 50 feet, but it requires that that buffer be fully contained in a common area, therefore the buffer is protected. Individual lot owners cannot remove that buffer. Also allows the use of planted berms in those buffers so we can get a better visual barrier when berms are used. It also removes the street tree section from this code and puts it in Chapter 90. It also adds some additional requirements to allow steeper slopes to be placed on more than one parcel, but it also requires some additional subsurface drainage to be installed in order to do so. It also has some requirements of HOA language, ensuring the HOA is going to maintain properties properly when using.
Questions? Motion second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right.
I make a motion to approve the second reading of Resolution 25-21, adopting the fee schedule for alcoholic beverage licenses.
Second.
This ordinance change clarifies that a retail consumption dealer eating establishment, 1,600 square feet minimum we have is calculated based on the total enclosed space, not just the eating space. It also changes the temporary alcohol beverage permit fee to $25 for the administrative fee section of that. It also removes other jurisdiction catering permit. They will now all follow the temporary alcohol beverage permit, which will be a reduction in cost for that.
Any questions? These are all second readings. Motion and second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. Carries.
I make a motion to approve the second reading of Resolution 25-22, Planning Services Fee Schedule Revision.
Second.
This amends our encroachment agreement fee from $55 to $80. This is due to a new state law that does not allow a self-filer to record an easement encroachment agreement at the courthouse. They can do it, but it's a lot of steps they have to go through to be authorized to do that. So instead of making them do that, we will do it on their behalf. We are authorized to file those agreements, so we will just take the $25 additional fee here and pass that along as the recording fee.
Questions? Motion and second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. On to the next new business. Commissioner Allen, I believe you're up.
Yes, sir. I would like to make a motion to approve the request for the conditional use for massage for property located at tax map 079, parcel 156, building 15.
Second.
Massage is a conditional use. You have here on your screen the Columbia Professional Center. There's currently an approved use for massage in Building 4. However, these buildings are all individually parceled. As you can see here, Columbia Road is to the drawing south. So this will allow Lot 15 to have the conditional use to have massage. Be a one person operating this. They do have their state license. Their office hours are Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 and 10 to 2 on Saturday, and by appointment when needed. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Is this in addition to Building 4 or instead of Building 4?
In addition, so like, again, these are all individual parceled, so you have to do conditional use for each individual parcel that you want to allow massage. So Lot 4 has it, this will now be Lot 15.
Once the operator ceases operations in a particular unit, does that condition go away, or is that unit is forever conditioned for that use?
It is conditioned on the parcel, not on the operator.
Still have to have a state license.
So they would have to follow all other requirements too.
Any other questions? Motion is second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. Carries. Next, speaker Saj Lakhani. Fill out a speaker form. State your name and address for the record, sir, and you have 5 minutes.
Hey, my name is Saj Lakhani, 3957 Hammonds Ferry Road. I'm project manager for Access Real Estate Partners, the petitioner. Good evening, and thank you all for the opportunity to speak. Here we are requesting, the initial rezoning was applied for about a year ago. We had requested at that time, staff had recommended 5-year temporary residential. The outcome of that request was 12 months. So recently, again, we have requested 6 months use temporary authorization for the residential properties that are already there. Staff felt that that request was reasonable, and staff recommended approval. However, at Planning Commission, came back with 12 months of temporary use authorization, and also came in with a provision that said that the properties could potentially revert in their zoning back to R2 from CC, which was already approved. Respectfully, we would request that Board of Commissioners approve what staff had recommended, what we had initially requested, which was the temporary residential use authorization. I would really make 2 important points to that. One, I would say that what we are requesting there is consistent with what has already been there. It's consistent. We're not doing anything different. Those houses have been residential for 50 years. We're working on commercial development. and we're working very hard towards it, but allowing us a little bit more time, I think, is consistent with what is already there, but also keeps the neighborhood. Instead of having houses that are vacant, occupied residentially the way they have been for the past 50 years, I think, good for the county, and also good for us, allows us to get a little bit of revenue just to break even. Really, it's not going to be any sort of, but it allows the property and the area. Secondly, it appears to be a concern from a timing standpoint, where they are limiting the amount of time that they are proposing for the temporary residential use. We're working very diligently. I think sometimes staff said that they're concerned that people would just rezone and then just try to increase the value, flip and move on, and that's not what we're doing at all. We are very actively pursuing good quality, disciplined commercial development there. But that type of development does take time, but we are on attend national conferences, regional conferences, we're in touch with a number of different tenants who have expressed interest in the area. Have a lot of uses that we're not happy with, and I'm a resident of Columbia County for 42 years, most of my life, and I love my county, I love my area, and we want to make sure that we bring in good commercial development, and that never happens quickly. With that stated, I can substantiate more efforts that we've made, not sitting passively on the sidelines, or working very actively to bring in good quality commercial development. So that, I would reiterate that I feel what staff has recommended was very reasonable, and respectfully, I would ask you all to align your decision with what staff has recommended.
You own the properties?
The two properties on the corner, yes. Other properties, not yet. We're still working on them.
But your goal is to keep it all commercial? Per your original question, your original request last year was you wanted it to be commercial.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's the end game.
Yes, ma'am. The goal.
Any other questions? Thank you. Here, I believe this is your motion.
Yes, I have there's a set of them. The first one is I make a motion to deny the request for a change of conditions for property located at tax map 073A, parcels 154 to 159, subject to the conditions enumerated at the July 17th Planning Commission meeting.
Second.
Questions? Motion and second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to deny the request for a variance to section 9098 for property located at tax map 073A, parcel 156, to reduce the front building setback to 90 feet from the center line of South Bel Air Road, subject to the conditions enumerated in July 17th Planning Commission report.
Second.
Any other questions? Second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed?
Back to me, sir.
Dr.
Are you Dr. Levi?
That's right, yes.
Well, you got here just in time. Would you like to speak?
My apologies for coming late. I was held up in traffic. I just drove from Thompson.
I'm not sure who's responsible for that. Or
Yes. You can hear me. I'm panting. I was running to try to catch up.
Oh, get your breath.
Take your time. State your name and address for the record, please.
So my name is Dr. Levi Makala. I used to be a professor at Augusta University. I was doing research on infectious diseases, type 1 diabetes, and blood disorders. I got tired of the research. I wanted to do some passions, things that I had a love for, and I decided to get into the personal care home. So I needed support from the commissioners to help me. I'm sorry, I'm still panting because I was running.
Okay.
So will you tell me your address again?
4933 Hereford Farm Road. I did apply last year, and the commissioners turned it down, although the planning division had recommended approval. I had requested an increase from 6 to 12 people, and it was turned down, but we are we have a good reputation. The neighbors love us. We look after people. We try to take care of the elderly and do the best we can. So I wanted the commissioners to find some sympathy in their hearts to allow me to rezone from R1 to S1. That will help me a lot in what I'm doing. And we are not going to change anything. We're not making any major changes. We will leave the house the way it looks as a residential house. But I just wanted that approval too.
Want to add more residents. Is
I want to add one resident, because last year I had asked for 12.
that- Add one, it changes, because you have, there are a lot of things you have to do, the building.
Right. So currently, he falls under the personal care home, which
Right.
is 6 or less, but it requires him to actually reside in the home. If you were to approve an S1 zoning, he could go to a group home standing, which does not require him to live there, but it does trigger a whole different set of building codes that Mr. Scarberry would have to make sure were done properly prior to opening it. Also brings in the Department of Community Affairs, I believe, that would limit your number as well. The narrative says 7, so if you granted this S1, he would be capped at 7, but Department of Community Affairs could come in and say you can only have 3. I don't know why they would, but they could do that. There's a lot of parts.
7, though, what else, what are the other requirements?
Sprinkler.
You didn't plan on major changes.
Yep, so I believe it's a
There are-
sprinkler system, Mr. Scarberry. Fire sprinkler system would have to be installed. I believe a grease trap would have to go in. I think that's pretty much it that I can think of off the top. And that would have to be done prior to getting the OCTAX to be a group home. So all those changes be made prior to us issuing a different license than what he has now.
So I earnestly ask the commissioners, please allow me to, from R1. Once again, my apologies for walking in late.
Okay, so
Dr. McCullough, before you leave, so you would no longer reside,
That again?
you would no longer reside there if it were an S1, if it were made a,
That's right. But we have 24-hour, 24/7 staff there all the time there. I'm there all the time. And people love us in there because we have no problems with the neighbors.
So you live there now?
Yes.
And the reason for that, there was some sort of billing difference, is that correct?
Say that
Would-
again?
The reason for the request is because you can bill
Medicaid directly.
directly with the 7th person.
That's right. The building is actually sufficient to hold up to 10 people. Hold comfortably 10 people, but you know, and we need to help. If I can be helped.
To answer your question, Commissioner Couch, is in his application, he did state that he has to use a third-party billing service because he is at 6, a maximum of 6 based on code. Going to a 7th person would allow him to bill Medicaid, or
That's right.
Medicaid directly. Cutting the third party out helps him out. He saves him some money, it lets him there to put money back into the business.
Thank you so much.
are there any other questions?
I make a motion to deny the request for rezoning from R1 to S1 for property located at tax map 067, parcel 017G.
Second.
Questions? Motion second on the floor, on favor, raise your right. Whoop, all right, that was my time. And my boss's ringtone. I see we're going to I-2A5, Matthew Paget.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here representing Arav and Sanvi LLC, its principal, Malay Patel, Matt Paget, 3499 Heatherstone Way, here in Columbia County. My client is petitioning to not rezone the property as it's already zoned C2, but rather to get a conditional use permit for on-site sales for distilled packages. And so we are here not seeking any other changes to this parcel. Y'all may recall, we came up last year with a bigger plan that had more involved. That has since been stricken. What they're seeking to do now is put a 15,000 square foot liquor store there. It's gonna be top-notch liquor, the same that Mr. Patel is already operating in Richmond County. That he wants to operate in Columbia County, because Mr. Patel does live in Columbia County. You know, his children are in school with my children, and so we are, I know him well, and so he is wanting to operate on this side of the border and certainly wants to operate in Columbia County. And the other two potential tenants would then be 1,500 square foot units that would be non-alcohol sales. They're looking at a restaurant and a coffee shop presently. And so that's what we're here seeking today. Initially, this was recommended for approval from the planning and zoning folks. At the end of the meeting, they had heard several folks stand up and raise objections and change their position. I will tell you that many of the objections raised did not delineate between this being liquor sales. It was more the commercial development side of things. For example, someone was frustrated about potentially losing a tree line they had. There was folks concerned about traffic. Very few, if any, of the concerns were specifically identified and relating to on-premises liquor sales. They were, again, commercial developed related grievances. So we have complied with all requirements that Columbia County's got in place. Has been the identification that was identified by planning and zoning, saying that we were well in excess of the distances required to be to the next closest store. I think that we comply with everything that has been placed there. My client does own this property. He does intend to develop this property, intends to operate his business at this property. My client, again, is a resident of Columbia County, wants to operate a business here in Columbia County, and that's what we're here seeking tonight.
Questions? Thanks.
Thank y'all.
Commissioner Skinner?
Kind of unusual. I'm usually on that side.
That's right.
So I'm on this side today. What I'd like to talk about a little bit is, I want to remind folks that over a year ago, this property was turned down for a liquor store. Sitting right there, District 2, it was turned down. It's not a suitable piece of property for a liquor store. We have completely residential. A lot of residential houses, a lot of schools. Matter of fact, about a block and a half, there's a little private school, teaches second graders, I think. That's not what we need in Columbia County. There's a difference in the two counties. This county is admired, and I want to keep it that way. So, my fellow commissioners that I work with, I cannot believe that we would vote yes for a liquor store. Cannot believe that. There is a Christian house across the street that fights drug problems. I think one of our commissioners was actually on the board, no longer on the board. How can you make a promise to those folks that you're going to protect them, and then you're going to open up and vote yes for a liquor store? Unbelievable. Kind of a shame. Thank you for letting me talk. You want to ask one more question. I want you to know what your constituents think. If you don't mind, if you are against the liquor store, please raise your hand. That's District 2, Trey, your district. We are elected to protect our districts. In this case, we're not. So I advise you to please rethink and vote no for a liquor store. I don't care about liquor stores in Columbia County. This is not the spot for it. That's all I'm talking about. This is not the correct location for a liquor store. Thanks for your time. I know I got 5 minutes. I don't want to overstep it.
You're only halfway.
But thank you very much. I enjoyed working with each and every one of you. But I do ask you to reconsider, and please do not put a liquor store on that corner. Does not fit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
John.
Russell Wilder.
I appreciate y'all. I'm Russell Wilder. I live at 3010 Hazley Court, Grovetown, Georgia. I'm just the opposite of former Commissioner Skinner. I see a liquor store as a grave danger to the neighbor. I trade with, either personally for my own consumption, primarily wine, and sell to liquor stores. I sell cigars. I've got humidors in several liquor stores in town, and I've seen them from Surrey Center, surrounding area, Eries Ferry Road, South Richmond County, and I don't see derelicts hanging around. I know watched the Planning Commission video, and that seemed to be a concern from one of the neighbors, in which I get that concern if only it were valid. That we don't see people walking around ever. I go up and down that road every day. I live a half a mile. My neighborhood's a half a mile up the road from there. It'd be nice for me, convenience-wise, to have somewhere than a grocery store to get Ernest & Julie aloe wine, or I can go to a nice liquor store and get a very premium bottle of wine should the occasion arise at my house that we want that. These small business owners, we're part of the community. I'm one of them. I deal with a lot of regulation, not so much from your side as much as I do with the state. And it's enough trouble for you to grow a family business or start a small business without there being some valid reason that a liquor store doesn't belong there. It's not a vape shop that are everywhere now, as we can see, and they sell apparently some sort of quasi-legal marijuana in these vape shops. That's not what this guy's wanting to do. He's wanting to put a nice liquor store. I've been to his liquor store in Richmond County. It's on Deans Bridge and Barton Chapel, and it's the nicest business in that. It's not like he's some shady operator that's going to repurpose an old shell building and have this kind of iffy business. He's going to build, hopefully, a nice business. So that's all I had. I wanted to make sure that somebody speaks for a legitimate business that's not a threat to the neighborhood. Liquor stores all over this county. Are they crime areas now? Not that I'm aware of. That's it. Thanks.
Grace Welsh. Just for the record.
All right, my name's Grace Welsh. I live at 4662 Brookwood Lane. As far as I know, I think I'm the only neighbor that actually lives in the neighborhood that's behind this proposed location. And I'm also the only one in my age range that's here to talk about it. So let's consider a little bit of that. So this would be my neighbor. And originally I was rather concerned about what would a liquor store look like here until I realized that I hadn't talked to the person that was going to do it. So instead of just making a decision without talking to someone or making my opinion fully out there without having a conversation with someone that's my neighbor, Malay reached out to me and was like, hey, I want to talk to you about what this would look like. It's not something that we see, sketchy off of Gordon Highway. It's something bigger that we want to make, and I want to invest in my community. So what did he do? He worked around my stupid schedule and sat down with me and talked to me about this business plan. And I don't know what other person who wants to develop an unused space off of Columbia Road is going to meet with the neighbor that lives right behind it after getting a beat down at Planning and Zoning Commission. Much less, I'm just curious, out of all the people that raised their hands, have any of you? No, you haven't. And I think if we're going to form an opinion, we should actually give the individual who wants to invest time and money into a part of our community that serves nearby. You need to be willing to sit down and have the conversation, and I appreciate Millie giving me that. So not only am I speaking in favor of this, I'm speaking in favor of someone who wants to build local and small businesses only. I don't want a national tenant right outside my door. I would like someone local. I would like small businesses to be the ones who I can walk to on a Saturday afternoon and take my nieces to. And I feel like the environment that he provides and the type of business that he runs would make it safe for the community, much less, like his legal counsel said, a lot of the concerns at planning and zoning were about tree lines and backing. He says he'll keep the trees and he'll even put a fence up for us if that's what us neighbors want. And I'm not speaking for my whole neighborhood, I'm speaking for myself, but I can say that those that I've talked to would be happy to have that if we can keep our trees and have our fence. It sounds like he's very willing to communicate with us and what we want to see there as a community. Quite frankly, I'm the only one that lives there that's come out today, and I'm in favor of it. I'm in favor of a younger person investing in small businesses in our area. So I just ask the commissioners to consider that, and quite frankly, consider someone who wants to bring their business to Columbia County. You can only have 2 liquor licenses in the state of Georgia. He chose our county instead of another one. I think that's something to be admired and something to be appreciated. So I hope you consider it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Commissioner Allen, I believe the motion is yours.
Yes, sir. May I speak before I read the motion, sir? As opposed to debating or afterwards? I've received surprisingly little correspondence on this. I have received a few people in favor and 1 or 2 against. I have heard through many channels that there's a lot more discussion going on in the community about this issue. In full disclosure, Malay Patel is my friend. He is also my client currently. He will not be my client for this business. Regarding him, he is a citizen of our community. He is a community partner. I know him to be a man of charitable means, charitable heart. He's just a good person. He's just a man trying to make a legal living for his family. In regards to Commissioner Skinner, whom I have known almost my entire life, he gave me my first checking account when I was 12 years old. I doubt he remembers that, but I certainly do. I could not have more respect and admiration for you, sir, and I mean that very sincerely. I care for you deeply. And I fully respect in your opinions. But that doesn't mean that I always agree with you. And in this case, because of my personal knowledge of Mr. Patel and who he is, real quick, I would like to express, everyone that quotes Edmund Burke usually quotes his famous phrase that all it takes for evil to succeed is for good men to do nothing. I'm a big student of Mr. Burke's, and my favorite quote of his, at the risk of offending anyone, is that your representative owes you not his industry only, but his judgment. And he betrays you instead of serving you if he sacrifices it to your opinion. I know in my heart what kind of a person this is, and I know that he would never do anything to diminish or damage. And for those reasons, I will make a motion to approve the request for the conditional use for the retail package sale of distilled spirits for off-premise consumption, property located at tax map 068, portion of parcel 003.
Second.
Second on the floor, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? I see no legal matters.
We still have one, sir.
Yeah, we have 1 to go.
Oh, I'm sorry, forgive me.
Lost a second page.
Sorry about that.
You want me to go? I would like to make a motion to approve the request for a variance to section 90-53 for property located at tax map 082A, parcel 183, to reduce the side setback to 3 feet from the southwest property line.
Second.
I would also, would this other partition be part of this motion or a separate motion?
You could put it in the same motion.
Okay. I would also like to remove the fee for this service.
Second.
Questions? Motion second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. No legal matters or requests for review by committee. Had folks asked to speak. Priscilla Bentz. Touch the record and take it.
Thank you, sir. Priscilla Bentz, 4215 Dunwoody Road, Martinez. I'm coming to address the library situation, just one point, really. I've heard at least two speakers on the other side over the last several months allude to sex education being kept from children because books with pornography or obscenity are moved over to the adult section, so I just had to respond to that. There's a big difference between pornography and obscenity and sex education. There's no comparison. Sex education is teaching proper names of anatomy from the time you're small. It's not showing children adult pictures of nudity, which can humiliate or overstimulate a young child. If you go to a health professional or education class, you learn that sex education occurs from the days of infancy. You learn you're a boy or a girl from your parents, about breastfeeding from your mom, nursing a sibling. You learn about sex education at home. You learn from library books that now most of them are in the adult section, which is appropriate because parents and children are different as to when they want to learn the different levels of sexual development.
Ms. Bentz, you're tapping the screen, and it's actually showing on the screen, so just,
Oh, this right here.
yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
There are overwhelming statistics that young adults who marry are less likely to have financial and other problems, more apt to stay together. In short, sex education explains what sex should mean, a committed relationship that helps form our society for the good and gives children structure and security. There are many sex ed programs that are age appropriate, just like you've done with the guidelines for the library. The burden of most sex education is parental, so there do need to be good library books, which I believe there are. The ones I've seen were very good. Excellent nonfiction books that are often placed in the adult section for adult supervision because parents vary quite a bit on when they want their children to learn these things, and children vary quite a bit on their ability to learn the different levels of sex education. Some of the topics in the 6th through the 9th grade workbooks of one group of books called Quest by Scott Phelps. Some of the chapters are dreaming about your future career, steps toward your goals, choosing abstinence, addictions and other self-destructive behaviors, safe spaces to keep temptation at bay, fresh starts, what media and entertainment teach us, video games and iPhone addictions, parent interviews, detours versus staying on track with one's goals, pregnancy concerns, why marriage matters, and the last session is explaining sexually transmitted diseases. So sex education has been around forever, and it's been taught in schools for at least 65 years. It's often taught with basic hygiene. We used to teach it in the Army. You teach the consequences of casual sex and some methods of partially preventing pregnancy and sexually transmitted diseases. In 6th grade, our teacher divided the girls from the boys and had lessons on puberty and menstruation. It wasn't embarrassing because you were sitting with your own gender. Now, there are still courses that are taught in school, basic sex education, and our library has books like that. But they're so opposite from pornography and obscenity, which cheapen sex and create fuzzy descriptions of gender differences to confuse children. When kids rely on porn for sex education, or even think it is sex education, our county is in for even more gender dysphoria than we already have. And by the way, I want to say it again, thanks for passing the age-appropriate guidelines. I think it's making a big difference for our county, for our library. Thank you.
Marlena Bardron. Name and address the record. Take 5 minutes.
Marlena Bergeron, 2545 Willow Creek Court. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak and for that lovely prayer, Commissioner Allen. I would also like to pray for all those affected by flash floods and forest fires. And I want to thank the Lord for our clean air and clean water and hope we do everything in our power to keep it that way. I want to pray for our workers, especially those who work outside, rain or shine, who pick our produce, process our meat, repair our roofs, and I pray that they are treated with compassion and justice as your word decrees. I also pray for our teachers and librarians as they embark on another school year of providing inspiring, rigorous, and relevant education. I'd like to start off with praise for Georgia for House Bill 340 and for our schools adopting the Distraction-Free Education Act. This supports teachers and learning, but took 2 decades of cell phone use and abuse for us to learn that smartphones are addicting and that no one under 16 should be on social media, according to pediatricians, and that we have to manage and govern our technology so that it serves us in ways that are productive and humane, and that the platforms don't use us to expand its consumption. We're at the beginning of our learning curve of AI, and we need to anticipate what constitutes ethical and responsible usage, including what natural resources we forfeit to have it. I use AI. I learned about it at the library with Alex. And yeah, it saves me a half hour looking up soil and light requirements for plants. But is that worth a 100-year-old white oak, the most important tree in an ecosystem? We've been lured into thinking our photos and documents all live in clouds, but they're really stored in huge buildings where trees and wetlands once were. And for scale, this data center that's proposed is the same size as Mistletoe State Park, which is 1,972 acres. Yes, it will add tax revenue and jobs, but after construction is completed, will the number of daily operational jobs be worth it? The water consumption, noise pollution, and increased demand for fossil fuels? Will it compromise the lives of nearby residents, including farmers who specifically chose, and other residents who specifically chose the bucolic beauty of Appling? In the words of Tim Nelkin, Sierra Club Executive Committee member and former county soil and water advisor, it ain't enough bang for the buck. Gaylord Nelson, a legislator from Wisconsin, said a healthy economy is a subsidiary of a healthy environment. It's not the other way around. I recommend that you read or listen on Hoopla to the library book called Water Always Wins. This is about stewardship of our wetlands. Much like our library, it isn't about controlling every square inch. It's about preserving sustainable systems that are already working in balance. We never talk about carbon sequestration or climate change at this meeting, but today's AP environmental science students do, and they will remember, even after you've left office, that it was you who authorized this project. And remember, there's a sailboat on that logo behind you. Maybe it's worth protecting and respecting our waterways and watersheds. So now let's talk about the library. I completely agree with Ms. Benz, who talked about pornography and obscenity being a terrible way to teach kids sex education. Thank God there is no pornography and obscenity at our library. Y'all have to read Lula Dean's Little Library of Banned Books by Kristen Miller. You'd think that author had been sitting in on our county board meetings. Stories teach us to follow the money, but I shouldn't have to give you a campaign contribution for you to uphold the United States Constitution. Mr. Chair, when you and I spoke a couple years ago, you agreed that it was disingenuous for a Lula Dean library patron to ask a librarian for a book on a particular subject and then condemn the librarian and those books for existing. That would violate a code of conduct anywhere else. You yourself said stickers on books would just draw more attention. And you've all forgotten what teenagers are like. Books and music that push boundaries validate the teenage existence and emotional roller coaster as they're going through the metamorphosis between child and adult. Books don't lead kids astray, just like murder mysteries don't create murderers. But that's for me as a parent to regulate, not for you. The unconstitutional guidelines were a solution looking for a problem. Today, 11 months later, with fewer staff, fewer books in circulation, check the stats, fewer books where they're supposed to be, and fewer programs, the library is objectively weaker. A growing community should be adding, not removing programs like story times. Yet we used to have 6-pack story times, and now we only have 4. Our once robust children's department in Evans has no certified librarians. The social media engagement with the community used to have hundreds of views and 40 likes, and now it has less than 5. The librarians came up with putt-putt in the stacks that brought families in who could tour the whole library. This year they had no putt-putt, they had no authors. In short, I want you to remember what my son learns at Boy Scouts, to be upstanders, not bystanders. And I'm disappointed and embarrassed that you became bystanders or even participants to books being persecuted, moved, or hidden from the community. Instead of being an upstander and a leader and upholding the Constitution, instead of shutting down hateful and inappropriate rhetoric directed at members of our community, some of them teenagers, what happened to protecting our children? And I've got news for you in the form of a haiku.
Okay, well,
This will not end well. Thank you, and I celebrate our freedom to read.
Thank you. Ms. Renee Hale?
Hello, I'm Renee Hale, 375 Crown Mill Drive. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I just moved here from Oklahoma 3 years ago, next week, and I'm still learning about the process of government in this area, so you may see me more often. I'm a member of the Senior Citizen Center in Grovetown, and I want to thank you very much for that opportunity. We do a lot of things. It's very helpful and very useful to many members of our community. I also want to remind you to consider in the form that I filled out, it asked for my suggestions. I don't have suggestions, that's why I'm not sitting where you are. But I do want you to understand that we have a very big lack of senior housing in this community. We have the Horizon Seniors apartments in Grovetown. Right now, there's a 3 to 5 year wait list for the 66 units. So I really don't have suggestions, but I do want you to consider if a nonprofit comes to you and asks for something that you think that our community needs. We need senior housing. We need senior transportation. I appreciate everything that Marvy does with the transportation that we do have, but it's very limited. It's people have to plan up to 10 days, maybe 2 weeks before they can get a ride. That's very important that they be able to get to doctor's appointments. It's only from 8:30 to 3:30, so sometimes it's hard to get those appointments or shopping, things like that are important to be able to take care of those things that they need. So far, I have not seen very much that has been available. The average apartment complex or apartment here is between $1,000 and $17,000. Between $1,000 and $1,700 a month. For a senior citizen who is living on Social Security, which is less than $1,000, that does not give them very much time or very much space that they can use for the other things that they need, even if two people share an apartment. So I just want you to consider if developers come to you ask for suggestions, that's what we need. If nonprofits come to you and ask for suggestions, that's what we need. I'm also a member of the Augusta Area Newcomers Club. We raise money every year for a nonprofit. Last year, we raised money for the Drumgoole Foundation, which built tiny homes for young people who were aging out of the welfare system, out of the DHS system. And so even some of our senior citizens could benefit from a tiny home complex. So I just want you to consider those and keep those things in mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen Parham?
Good evening. I'm Karen Parham, 3421 Hilltop Trail. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. We need to be honest about what's happening in our libraries. The shelving guidelines aren't some balanced compromise between extremes. This is a politically motivated attack on our public libraries by sidelining neutral professional standards and ignoring legal advice. First, let's talk about the new Columbia County Regional Library Board. It's been created, but no appointments have been made. I've heard you're waiting until December, which suggests that the policies are being written behind closed doors with the intent to appoint individuals who will simply rubber stamp them in January. Meanwhile, we now have a staffing crisis in the children's department at the Evans branch. Story time has already been reduced. There are no licensed librarians, and rumors are circulating well beyond the county that hiring and promotions now depend more on loyalty to this policy and the new library manager than on professional qualifications. You voted to leave the regional library system after the regional board's attorney raised legal concerns and suggested changes to Columbia County's restrictive shelving guidelines. But Columbia County used its 5 out of 9 votes on the regional board to override those concerns and forced the region to keep the policy anyway. Your own attorney, Mr. Driver, told you in May 2023 that shelving books based on content has been consistently struck down in court. At least 3 of you were in your seats when he said it, and yet you adopted the guidelines anyway. After the policy passed in September 2024, Library Director Ms. Maynor used multiple tools to assess its impact and found the guidelines wouldn't remove all the targeted books. Days later, she was directed to rely solely on BookLooks, a Moms for Liberty affiliated database to achieve the desired interpretation. At the December 10th meeting, Dr. Caraway also insinuated that the policy would make most book challenges unnecessary because it would already remove the materials that activists objected to. Commissioner Couch even reached out to one of those activists after the guidelines passed to share the news, and she responded that it was a big accomplishment. That same individual thanked Dr. Caraway for getting the guidelines passed by the commission. It's very clear who this policy was for. Some of you have privately expressed discomfort with how this is playing out, but let's be honest, this didn't happen overnight. It started with banning book displays, then rainbow decorations, and renaming the teen room just because one person doesn't understand that teen and YA are synonyms in the literary world. At every step, instead of defending professional, content-neutral standards, you've chosen to appease and align yourselves with book banners. Before I pivot, let me be very clear. I do not support challenging or removing the Bible from the children's section. That would just be more censorship, and we are not going to fix this problem by banning more books. The Bible keeps coming up for a reason, though. There's a full version called the Deep Blue Kids Bible in the juvenile nonfiction section, recommended by Christian retailers for ages 7 to 11. Under your own policy, it technically shouldn't be there because it contains sexual and violent content. It's often brought up in online arguments as an example of the inconsistent enforcement of the guidelines, and the response is often that only child-appropriate versions of religious texts should be allowed. Can we acknowledge how dangerous this is? We now have people asking the government to decide which version of a sacred text is suitable for children. These so-called patriots are now advocating for government-approved religious orthodoxy. That's not just hypocritical, it's deeply un-American. Instead of targeting the Christian Bible or any other faith, we should be expanding access. Public libraries should reflect the full religious diversity of our community and support true freedom of conscience, not government control over what is spiritually acceptable. So no, the idea that this policy was a moderate compromise between conservative Christians and the LGBTQ community, as Mr. Johnson claimed in recent reports, simply doesn't hold up, even though that is also a politically motivated position. But you even publicly supported SB 74, which seeks to criminalize librarians, and then you spread disinformation in this very room to justify your position. Let's call this what it is. A coordinated, ideologically motivated campaign to replace neutral professional library standards with partisan political control. Don't send Mr. Johnson to spin it in the press. The damage is done. You built this. You own it. And you can still change course. We are not going away. We will continue to show up, speak out, and defend our public libraries. They are a pillar of a free society and not a tool for government-sponsored censorship. Thank you.
Susan Warren.
I'll try to make sure I'm speaking into the microphone this time. Susan Warren, 129 North Tubman Road, Appling. Before I start, I would like to thank Commissioner Couch and the Columbia County Economic Development Authority Director Eldridge for taking time to answer some of my questions about the data center. Some background where this has been. In an April 9th interview with Data, the construction channel, Commissioner Couch confirmed that the Columbia County Economic Development Authority was about to ask to rezone some 1,900-plus acres to S1 based on the DRI Trammell Crow had submitted to the state. Almost 8.1 million square feet of buildings and 8 million square feet of data centers, whose first phase was to be developed within the next 2 years. Then the remaining phases would be built out over the next decade and beyond. Commissioner Couch's comment was that she felt, based on her research and observations, this would be the best possible type of development of this land. Those parcels were rezoned on May 20th. I had money questions. Who owns the land? How is it paid for? Has the option to purchase the 324-acre been exercised? The Columbia County Economic Development Authority paid $28 million for 1,600-plus acres with a locally financed bank loan, not by Columbia County. The 324-acre option has not been exercised, at least as of the date of our meeting. The loan will be repaid when the land is developed and the end user or users, which could be one big one like an Amazon or a lot of small ones, buys the land, develops it, and then starts to pay county taxes. Early interviews with media varied on how long to complete the project, with some saying 2 to 10 years or 5 to 10 years. But in one interview on June 5th with Channel 6, Director Eldridge actually was quoted as 20 to 30 years. Columbia County had been discussing a different, I believe, data center project with Trammell Crow, but when this land became available, they switched gears to this project. Since there had already been discussions of what terms the county would want from a developer, Trammell Crow was aware that Columbia County wants developers to pay for infrastructure upgrades like roads, water systems, sewer systems, etc. However, Trammell Crow is the intermediator, not end user, and you will have to negotiate those terms with the end users. The next issue is taxes. The plan as presented on May 20th detailed an $11.6 billion project that could provide Columbia County $118 million a year in tax revenue. What you didn't mention was that this might be possible at build-out, but not to be seen before a possible 10 to 20 years or longer. Also based on the maximum number of buildings that you showed in that projected plan. If the end user is not a single buyer, those buildings will begin being constructed 1 or 2 at a time, and that's when the taxes will start to come in off 1 or 2 at a time. Also remember that Columbia County School Board gets 65% of the tax revenue collected, and the county general fund gets 35%. So not all of that $118 million per year would go to tax relief for homeowners. That led me to ask about tax incentive. Since learning that in 2024, 105 data centers in Georgia received $105 million to locate in the state, I asked had there been conversations with Trammell Crow regarding the possibility of Columbia County having to pay incentives for this project. I was told none at this time had been discussed, but they didn't actually rule that out as a possibility. The CSRA Regulatory Commission's final report on the DRI for this project didn't come out until May 7th, when the Columbia County Planning Commission met on May 1st and recommended this to the Columbia County Board of Commissioners for approval. Did they have any of the information that wound up on that May 7th report? The notes from the May 1st Planning Commission meeting showed the meeting was opened at 6:29 p.m. That's the portion about the planning commission, the project. Then a spokesperson for Hull Barrett spoke. Director Eldridge spoke. Vice Chair Steele asked 2 questions, and I presume someone answered him. A Trammell Crow rep spoke, a resident spoke, and the Columbia County Planning Manager spoke. Per the notes from that meeting, the public part of that meeting closed at 6:37 p.m. Commissioner Cato made a motion for approval. Commissioner Hollowell seconded, and it was approved. But this major project meeting was allotted a whole 8 minutes for public meeting portion. So that doesn't seem like a very long time to me. And by the way, I caught Mr. Rhodes' program or part of it this afternoon, and I wonder what the people in these podunk counties around us think about Columbia County now.
Howard Johnson.
May I just comment that he did not speak for the commission, and that I heard a little bit of that myself, and that was not Mr. Rhodes.
Oh. Welcome.
Good evening, Howard Johnson. I reside at 252 Silver Maple Road. I'm here once again to speak about the handling of the library. I'd like to start with a quote from the author C.S. Lewis. When I was 10, I read fantasy in secret and would have been ashamed to have been caught. Now that I'm 50, I read it in the open. When I became a man, I put away my childish things, including the fear of childishness and the desire to be very grown up. See, Mr. Lewis touches on a very important point here. When I was a child, and I want everyone in this room to think back to your middle school years, say they're probably most people's worst years of their life. You see, as a child, we're very concerned about what others think of us. I certainly was. There were lots of things. I was a little heftier, very self-conscious about my body at that time. Now it turns out, now that I'm an adult, I care a little bit less about what people think. You see, I crochet. That's something that I have been ridiculed for as a non-manly hobby. I also bake, again, a non-manly hobby. I love soccer. It's my favorite sport. That's, again, something that is often seen as a less manly sport. I don't care, right? I don't care what people think of me. But it took me a while to get there. When I was a kid, I was ashamed of the things that I enjoyed. I hid myself away. I did not experience joy to its fullest because my fear of what people would think of me. I'm quite certain everyone in this room knows that feeling. My concern with the policies being implemented at the library are that we are telling children that they need to be ashamed of something about them. Kids that are gay deserve representation. Kids who are trans deserve representation. These are things about them that they feel deep shame about regardless. We don't need to be heaping more onto them. That makes the experience of being a child more difficult, it makes growing up more difficult, and it leaves people in vulnerable positions where they're not comfortable seeking help for whatever they may be feeling. The policies implemented by this board or by members appointed by this board are harmful to children in marginalized groups by ostracizing them and making them be seen as the other. Kids put enough pressure on themselves as it is to try and fit in. It is inappropriate for us as adults to heap more onto them. That's all I have for tonight. I'll be back in 2 weeks.
Go on to our executive session, and there are a handful of property items. Vice Chairman Couch.
Yes, sir. I make a motion to approve $24,900 to Ginger Webb, parcel 0721628, $33,300 to John Davis, parcel 072J061, $14,600 to Melissa and Ariana Reese, parcel 072J186, $17,500 to Adrienne Velez, parcel 072241, to obtain right-of-way and/or easements for the Hereford Farm Road widening project.
Second.
All standard acquisitions gets us down to 52 remaining.
Motion and second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 25-24, Declaration of Taking an Order by Condemnation for a portion of Tax Map 067015 for the improving, widening, paving, aligning, and maintaining of Hereford Farm Road.
Questions? Motion second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand.
I make a motion to approve $20,000 to GVS Holdings LLC, parcel 060078, $84,000 to Cynthia Enriquez, parcel 072D002, and $30,000 to Leela and Raymond Cheney, parcel 067022, to obtain right-of-way and/or easements for the Hereford Farm Road widening project.
Second.
All standard gets us down to 47.
Second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand.
I make a motion to approve Resolution Number 25-23, Declaration of Taking an Order by Condemnation for a portion of parcel 067064F for the improving, widening, paving, aligning, and maintaining of Hereford Farm Road project.
Motion second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. Carries.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 25-25, Declaration of Taking an Order by Condemnation for a portion of Tax Map 072B041, 072B040, 072B039, 072B038, 072B037, 072B036, 072B035, 073017 for the improving, widening, paving, aligning, and maintaining of Hereford Farm Road.
Second.
Questions? Motion second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. Carries. I believe there's more item that we need in open session.
Sir, the couch was too efficient. You read through that pretty quick. I wasn't necessarily ready. I'd like to take an opportunity tonight to make an announcement regarding my continued service on this board. In recent days, I have been offered and have accepted a White House appointment to serve as senior advisor to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, Washington, D.C. With the acceptance of this role, I will be working in the Capitol and will not be able to offer the citizens of my district the level of service that they deserve. After deciding to accept the role, I reached out to council at the earliest opportunity to begin planning for the transition of the District 2 Commission seat. I have worked with legal and staff over the last few days to work through the process, and I believe that we have determined the best way forward. I therefore plan to submit my resignation to Governor Kemp, creating a vacancy on the Board of Commissioners and allowing a call for my replacement's election. By taking this action now, I am hoping to save the county time, trouble, and money in executing a special election that will hopefully be implemented concurrently with the coming PSC vote in November. This is an unexpected opportunity for myself and my family to serve my country that I simply could not turn down. Although I'll be working in D.C., I shall continue to maintain a house here and be a resident of Columbia County. This will always be my home. Serving as a Columbia County Commissioner has been one of the greatest honors of my life. And while I look forward to the challenges before me, I will miss this role terribly. I will miss the people most, my fellow commissioners, the staff, and the citizens, all of whom make Columbia County the greatest place I know of to live and raise a family. I have filled this seat on and off for over 15 years, and I hope that in some small part, I helped improve your lives. But I know, without question, that you have made mine better than I could ever wish for. Thank you for the privilege of letting me serve you. Godspeed, Columbia County, and thank you.
It's been an honor to serve with you. It's also an honor to be appointed to, what was the title again?
Well, I actually got a promotion last night.
You haven't even started yet.
No. So I will now be senior advisor to HUD. It's just a lot easier than deputy assistant secretary of so-and-so.
Congratulations. and
Thank
it's
you.
a Big move for you and your family, although you'll stay here. Be able to see Bobby Christine up there at times, so. Columbia County seems to be moving to Washington. Y'all got to straighten that mess out.
We have a lot of friends.
We will miss you, Trey.
Thank you, Mike.
Pleasure serving with you.
Thank y'all very much.
Is there a motion to be made?
Yes, sir. I make a motion that upon the governor's acceptance of James E. Allen III's resignation from the Board of Commissioners, the Board of Elections shall issue the call of the election to fill the resulting vacancy. And also, I would like to add to that motion to assign Vice Chair Couch to the MIS and DES committees to replace the retiring.
Second.
Questions? Or-
I don't think I'm going to do this a third time.
okay. Motion second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand.
I'm voting on this?
The
Yes.
reason we did that was so we could get it on
I haven't
the ballot.
resigned yet, so I guess so.
Congratulations.
Appreciate that.
Now there's one more motion to be made.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I approve it.